Tales from the AI verse.
Welcome to Tales from the AI verse. If you like these stories, please consider subscribing through the podcatcher of your choice. Or if you've watched this on YouTube, consider liking and subscribing to the Vert Shark channel where these are listed. If you would like to support this podcast, consider buying Guy a coffee at coffee.com under the name Mac Parrot. That's ko-fi.com. And now, on to today's story.
The Man Who Smiled. Edited and expanded on by Guy Searle. People say there's not enough laughter in the world, and that may be true for some. For others, the act of a smile or a laugh can be difficult as they deal with their own personal pain or grief. They're the lucky ones. They can choose when to smile, laugh, and when not to. For Henry Parsons, each waking moment is a nightmare, as the grin never leaves his face, and the laugh is always too close by. For Henry Parsons, each day is a walk through the AI verse. No one ever saw Henry Parsons frown, not once. Through childhood scrapes, teenage heartbreaks, and the monotonous grind of adulthood, Henry always smiled, a wide, beaming, almost unnatural grin. When his dog was run over by a delivery truck at age 12, Henry cradled its broken body and giggled. When his father collapsed from a sudden aneurysm at the dinner table, Henry pressed his napkin to his lips and chuckled. When his wife left him for his best friend, he shook their hands and smiled and giggled until he couldn't breathe. People whispered about Henry behind closed doors. They said he wasn't right. Some thought he was simply too kind for this world. Others thought he had lost his mind long ago. But no one ever saw what lay beneath the grin. The truth was, neither did Henry. For as long as he could remember, he had been this way. His smile was not a choice. It was a condition, something buried deep inside him, something that would not let go. He did not feel joy in the way others did. His happiness was reflexive, instinctive. It wasn't even real happiness, as the smile never went beyond his face. It went someplace else that Henry could neither find nor explain. It was uncontrollable, and to Henry, frightening. Not that he could express it. It wouldn't make any sense to a regular person, and it likely would have made for a one-way ticket to a sanitarium. And so, as life played its usual cruel tricks on him, Henry smiled. His house burned down, his business collapsed. His mother died alone in a nursing home before he could get there. And through it all, Henry smiled. One evening, as he walked home beneath the dim glow of the streetlights, he stumbled upon an accident not far from his home. A car, flipped and smoldering, steam rising from its shattered radiator. A woman's body had been thrown through the windshield and lay twisted on the pavement, her blood painting the road a dark crimson. People screamed. Someone called for help. Henry stood among them, smiling. A man noticed him, then another. Faces twisted in disgust, in horror. Someone grabbed him by the collar and shook him. "What the hell is wrong with you? That's my wife!" Henry tried to explain, tried to say he was sorry. But his lips curled, his teeth gleamed, and the laughter came spilling out. This laughter was nothing like the chuckles and giggling he'd done before. This was full-throated, loud, almost mocking real joy and happiness. His eyes bulged from their sockets, and Henry felt like there wasn't enough breath in his lungs to keep putting out the raucous roar of this new laugh. The woman lay near death as Henry's laugh rolled across the crowd of onlookers. A fist slammed into his face from the woman's husband, then another. He crumpled to the pavement, blood trickling from his nose. A boot struck his ribs, and still, he laughed. Multiple people joined in on Henry's beating, and they likely might have killed him if the police hadn't intervened. Instead of just smiling, now everything came out as a laugh. Henry laughed because he could do nothing else. The police on the scene pushed the crowd away as they dragged Henry to the sidewalk. Still, he laughed. An EMS came to check on his injuries, and after a few minutes of answering simple questions, as that was all Henry could manage with the gales of laughter still spewing from his mouth, they packed their things and left him in disgust. The police on the scene, after checking his driver's license and seeing Henry lived close by, escorted him to his home and all but threw him onto his porch. They left him there, beaten and bloody, without a backwards glance at the continuously laughing man that Henry had become. Henry crawled inside his home and somehow made it to his bed. He didn't change. He didn't pull back the sheets to make himself more comfortable. He just lay upon the bed, his dripping blood staining the blanket he laid upon. That night, as he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling through swollen, blackened eyes, something inside him shifted. His face ached, but it was a new kind of pain, one he had never known before. Not from the beating, but from the smile itself. It was cracking, pulling at the seams of his skin, stretching too tight, too far. And then, in the dead silence of his apartment, he felt it. The smile moved on its own. Henry made his way to the bathroom, one foot slowly moving after the other. He switched on the light, and if he could have, he would have screamed in horror at the face in the mirror. It was Henry's face, but it wasn't. His jaw twitched violently, his lips peeled back as though some invisible force were prying them open. He was missing a few teeth from the beating he had endured, but those that remained ground together until his gums bled. His reflection in the darkened window showed something wrong. His face contorted beyond human expression, his eyes not his own. A voice slithered through his mind. Not enough. Not enough. Not enough. Henry clutched his head. He understood now. The smile wasn't Henry. It was something that had lived inside him all of his life, but had been small, unable to do much beyond that smile that Henry had always had. Now it was bigger, and it was hungry. It had fed on his pain for years, savoring every tragedy, every loss, every ounce of misfortune. But it was no longer satisfied. It needed more. Henry wondered if the smile could know his thoughts. He didn't know, or couldn't hear the smile's thoughts beyond the basic hunger it had expressed. Was that because it wasn't strong enough yet? Henry decided he didn't want to know, didn't want to wait. If the smile could control his outward appearance with his face as it had, what might it make him do if it got more powerful? Henry still controlled the rest of his body. He decided that he would take advantage of that, while he still could. Henry turned away from the spectacle in the mirror that was his face, and yet wasn't. He walked through his home, every part of his body still aching from earlier. He grasped the front door knob and turned it, opening the door to the outside. Henry's hands were shaking as he did so. He wasn't sure if it was because of his own physical problems or of the smile's perhaps tentative attempts to finally gain some control beyond Henry's face. Henry knew it wouldn't matter. He could keep control of himself long enough to do what he knew had to be done. He kept these thoughts buried deep within himself, running mostly on just the next thing to do instead of his destination. The smile would find out on its own when Henry decided, not it. Henry stepped outside. His body moved reluctantly as he forced it down a path that he chose, not the hungry entity that lived inside. One step at a time he walked, barefoot and trembling, through the cold streets until he reached the old steel bridge that overlooked the river. Henry could feel that the smile was still unsure of what Henry would do next. Henry walked to the middle of the bridge and looked down. It had been a very dry summer, and water in the river was running low. From where Henry stood, it was about 50 feet straight down. There were large rocks, normally covered by the water's depth, that now lay exposed. As he stood there, the wind howled, The water below churned, black and endless. The rocks glistened under the full moon that hung, cloudless, in the night. Henry felt something close to freedom. The smile finally understood what Henry was about to do. It tugged at Henry's arms. It urgently tugged at his legs, trying to force him back away from the bridge's guardrail. The guardrail itself only stood about 4 feet high. The bridge's builders hadn't built it to prevent people from doing what Henry was about to do. To do what that was is crazy, they figured. Sure death. The builders of the bridge knew that for certain. Henry knew that for certain. Now the smile did too. The smile's thoughts could now be heard. As its efforts to prevent Henry from his task grew, the smile on Henry's face faltered. Henry's expression momentarily became a frown as everything the smile had was thrown into this last-ditch effort. As Henry regained control of his face, for maybe the first time in his life, he threw back his head and laughed. A deep, ragged, inhuman sound that echoed into the night. It finally was one of his own. "Stop that laughing!" The smile practically shouted at Henry from within his own mind. "Stop it at once. I decide what there is to laugh about. That's me, my domain." The smile decided to try something else. The voice in his head talked smoothly, calmly, trying to negotiate with Henry. "Step away, Henry. Just step away. I've taken care of you, been part of you for so long. Shouldn't I have a say in this? We can now hear each other. We can talk, discuss it. We can be partners. We can do great things. You can't imagine what we could do, together." Henry heard the lies and knew what the smile would make him do. Henry stopped laughing and turned his attention inward and could imagine the smile looking at him as it pleaded for its existence. Henry's inward face looked at the smile and gave him one of his own before saying, "You're done." Then, without hesitation, he leapt. As he fell, his laughter returned. His real laugh, and it grew, stretching across the sky like a horrible, endless melody. Even late-night revelers in the city heard it. The birds, startled by the sudden intensity of that laugh, scattered. The river below opened its arms. And somewhere, in the depths of the abyss of Henry's mind, the smile that wasn't his screamed in terror. "No! No! No! You mustn't! You can't! You are mine! Stop! Stop! Stop!" Henry even now could feel the smile twisting. Just as the smile had some control of Henry's physical body, he now had some of the smile's mental shape. Could it escape? Could it move on to some other poor soul? Henry could not take that chance, and grasped with the unreal hands within his mind at any part of the smile he could reach and pulled it towards him. The smile howled and shrieked, but Henry held on. Then, all was silent. Henry had mercifully died upon impact with the rocks and water below. The smile's wailing ended just as Henry's consciousness was gone. His broken body slowly lifted off the rock he had fallen on and began its journey down the river. Some number of miles downriver, as Henry's remains began to sink below the surface, his body caught on some large tree branches that had fallen many years ago. No one would find him, though a rudimentary search had been made when Henry was discovered missing. This was to be Henry's final resting place. It was where Henry, finally, after so many years of torment, had found peace.
Thank you for listening to this Tales from the AI verse. You can contact Guy through X and Blue Sky under the username MacParrot. He welcomes your comments and looks forward to hearing from you. Remember to like, share, and subscribe through YouTube and your favorite podcatcher. Now, please enjoy a song especially created for this story. We hope to see you again soon.
but he saw him frown. Not once, not ever. A porcelain mask that cracked, but never severed. Dog dies, father bleeds, lover leaves. World proceeds behind his teeth. The stranger waits. Something old, something that hates. Every wound, every life, and the thing that lives inside. And through it all, he grins so wide. He smiled, wearing pain like a crown. He smiled as the world burned down. It wasn't him behind those eyes. It was something born to thrive in lies. No joy, no peace, no rest, no sleep. A twitching jaw, a promise to keep. It whispered more, it always needs more. Built from the cracks in a rotten car. Clock clash, blood stone, faces twisted, screaming, go home. And when the fist came down, he laughed aloud, a hollow echo in the crowd. He smiled as the bones gave way. He smiled as the world decayed. It wasn't joy, it wasn't right. It was a parasite in flight. On the bridge, he stared down deep. The thing inside began to weep. We could be gods, we could be kings, but Henry tore away its strings. You're done. He smiled, wearing pain like a crown. He smiled as the world burned down. It wasn't him behind those eyes. It was something born to thrive in lies. Down the river, something weeps, but Henry sleeps. Henry sleeps. And the night remembers the man who smiled no more. A man who smiled no more. He smiled. He smiled, wearing pain like a crown. He smiled as the world burned down. It wasn't him behind those eyes. It was something born to thrive in lies. But on the cracks in Ambrose eye, no more. The thing inside, no more.